This is going to be a terrific case. This is what I love when you see a whole bunch of things and you use little algorithms to quickly identify what you're at. This movie is called Muscle. There are three kinds of muscle histologically. There is muscle without striations, so that's called smooth muscle. There are two types of muscle with striations, and if the fibers are arranged parallel, that's called skeletal or voluntary striated muscle. If the striated muscle has fibers which connect with each other as a mesh, that's called cardiac muscle. In this field, we have all three kinds of muscle. Let's go to the first one on the left, and let's zoom it up a little bit. And you could quickly see, I hope, that these fibers here are clearly striated. In addition, they are arranged very longitudinally like logs on a neatly stacked fireplace. In addition, you can see that the nuclei are all out at the periphery. So this is classical voluntary skeletal striated muscle. Technically, if you cut one of these nuclei tangentially with respect to the fiber, it might look like it was in the middle of the fiber, but in reality, that's just a geometric artifact. In true voluntary skeletal striated muscle, the nuclei are all at the periphery. You could identify the striations better from doing longitudinal cuts with respect to the axis of the fiber. You could identify where the nuclei are better by doing cross or axial sections with respect to it. This is classical striated skeletal muscle. Let's move on to the next piece of tissue. Here are muscle fibers in which you can clearly see there are no striations. And in addition, the nuclei are kind of like cigar-shaped. If you cut them longitudinally, they look a little bit like bent cigars. If you happen to cut them more transversely, like you see here, they look round. So once again, it's a geometric phenomenon. If you are looking at smooth muscle fibers which have been cut transverse to their longitudinal axis, they'll look like they're round. If you cut them longitudinal to their longitudinal axis, they will look like little cigars or very, very spindly. Quite frankly, you could have a very hard time differentiating this from a connective tissue, perhaps dense, regular, or irregular connective tissue. But if you did a trichrome stain, the cytoplasm of the fibroblasts and the collagen fibers stain very clearly blue or greenish blue with a trichrome stain, whereas smooth muscle would not pick up the greenish at all. Let's keep on moving away now from these nice smooth muscle fibers and go on to our third type of muscle, which we are going to be seeing very, very soon, I hope. And sure, we have just landed on the coast here, and we can start to see some muscle fibers now in which I think you will admit it's a little bit more difficult to see the striations on this. Perhaps I could convince you very soon that, let's go to a different area. Maybe we'll see some striations better. Perhaps I could convince you that if you look very closely, like here, or perhaps here, or, let's go to another place. If you can't see it good, just take a quick visit to another place. If you look perhaps here, hopefully, I can convince you that these are striations also. But two things separate this from skeletal voluntary striated muscle. Whereas I think I could convince you that maybe there are some striations, the nuclei are clearly within the center of the fiber, like here, like here, like here, like here, like practically everywhere. And in addition, The fibers are not stacked up nicely like logs on a fireplace. They branch. And thirdly, you will have an abundance of areas in which you could see little lines in the middle of two connecting fibers, like perhaps here, like certainly here, like certainly here. And these are your intercalated discs. So cardiac muscle is also striated, not nicely striated as skeletal muscle, but it has the nuclei in the middle of the fiber. It has intercalated discs. The fibers branch to connect with adjacent fibers because the method of contraction is not linear, it's in multiple dimensions. And last but not least, the fiber is not quite as thick as the skeletal muscle voluntary striated fiber. They're a little bit smaller. So there we are, all three types of muscle on one nice slide. And I hope that I can convince you that there's no possible way you could ever confuse striated from skeletal, from cardiac muscle for the rest of your life. And I thank you very much.